Allah, honors to his prophet, Islam, Moorish Americans, Islam to all the Moors. This is another video for Moors. Just a real quick video. Somebody sent me something today. I encourage you to Google it. You will find it. Google U.S. Supreme Court Indian Treaty, May 19th, 2019. That's the day the ruling was made. It was in the Washington Post and it's in some other news articles. The significance of the ruling is the Supreme Court has ruled and agreed that treaties, even if they're hundreds of years old, I'm paraphrasing in my own words, they're valid, even if the treaty was created before the formation of the state. They're valid. Why is this significance? Because the longest standing treaty with the United States, the treaty with the Moors, the treaties with the Moorish Americans, the Treaty of Marrakech, is it exists before the formation of the present United States of American government. Whether you're talking about whatever or whether you're talking about the Republic is established under the Constitution. And the Constitution also references that the treaties are valid, and we know that this is the longest standing treaty. So the Supreme Court made that ruling today. I just wanted to point that out. And I also want to emphasize some other things that's pretty important. Under Muhammad III, he was the Sultan of Morocco, of the Moorish Empire at the time when the United States was setting up shop over here, and he began diplomatic relations with the United States, and the United States kindly accepted and gave thanks and obliged itself for the Sultan allowing them to do commerce in his dominions. So just so you know, I found some pictures here. We'll start with this one because this is the first one up here. This is a picture, a supposed picture. It's a drawing of the Sultan that George Washington was doing, sending the communications with, the Washington letters. You can Google those. Google George Washington's letters to the Sultan of Morocco, and you'll see that George Washington was thanking him for allowing them to do commerce. George Washington was assuring him that the agreements, which it sounds when you read the letter is about whatever the United States is supposed to be paying, that they will resume once the United States gets, some commerce going, because the United States said there's no gold or silver in their territories, right? So you could go read that communication. But what I wanted to point out is this is the real picture of the, let me get his name correct. Well, his name is right up here. Let's look at it. Sultan bin Sidi Muhammad bin Abdullah. So this is what he looks, this is what he looks like. This is what he looks like, and this is what they display him to look like in Morocco this day. And this is what I was told by my Grand Sheikh who actually went there. So let me see if I could pull the whole picture here. Oh man, I can't really. I just have to switch the picture. So here you go. There's the bottom. Sorry. So this is what he looks like. Now this is again written in German, and this article is describing some type of some German explorer, or maybe he was an agent or something sent to recon the land. But anyway, he's describing the Sultan in a disgraceful type of way. He's saying that the Sultan was pretty much, it sounds like he's saying he's egotistical, and he also mentions the Moors. He says we're a despicable and degenerate race. So this is written in German. I actually typed this out and I translated it to try to understand what I could. But yeah, whoever was writing about this time, which he was on the ground during this time, during the time of the this is an article about someone else's writings, and the someone else who's writing is writing about Sultan bin Sidi Muhammad bin Abdullah, which is the Sultan who basically established the diplomatic relations with George Washington and gave them the authority to do business in the dominions of North America, which under the Arabs was Al-Maghrib, Al-Aqsa, Morocco, or the furthest extreme west. So Something else that's interesting, there's a series of letters between George Washington, Thomas Barclay, Benjamin Franklin, I believe, that's establishing diplomatic relations with him. And there's even this one part of the letter where the George Washington is basically saying that we are, I mentioned in the last video, he's talking about how he's like something that the Sultan did was deeply, it deeply impressed upon them. So they were basically expressing their obligations and that these things would be remembered. Now, here's another interesting picture right here. Notice this brother back here with the turban on his head. They say he was a slave. His name is Billy. His name is William, or no, Billy Lee William. Now they say he's a slave, but it doesn't seem like he's a slave, right? If you notice him, this is him again, and this is the picture I was waiting for, but now it popped up on the screen. Notice he's on a horse. He has on the fire red turban with the jewel on it. And by the way, that was the flag that was already flown here in the Americas. Now he's in the Americas. This is around the same time that George Washington is sending the communications, and that he is also receiving generosity because the Sultan, this brother right here, is allowing ships to come through Gibraltar so that America can continue to set up and so that they can build up. So he's giving them, basically allowing them to get the resources they need to establish the young country or whatever. So they say Billy Lee Williams was a slave that George Washington purchased, but that would be crazy because George Washington is standing and Billy Lee Williams is on the horse, and Billy Lee Williams is looking dead at him, just like he is in this picture right here with the turban on. Now, I've read other accounts that said Billy Lee Williams helped George Washington tie a rag around his head. I've read accounts that said he was George Washington's manservant. He prepared a lot of, he did a lot of organization and just a lot of things for George Washington. But I know George Washington thanked the Sultan in Morocco for guidance and for generosity and basically for helping him do everything. So I'm really inclined to believe that this is just part of the Inquisition history, or they didn't want to say outright that he is a guy from Morocco or directly under the Moorish Empire, which was probably directing George Washington of the affairs of government, the science of government. Because remember, is my opinion that around these times the Europeans for the first time was really getting out into the world. They had been civilized out of the Caucasus Mountains. That would have took years, hundreds of years or whatever. Then they get down into Europe and Spain and see the Moors ruling and go to the temples and begin to learn the science of government and eventually begin to overthrow and push their way out of Gibraltar and into the world. So I just say, to me, slaves don't ride horses and wear turbans and jewels, and you don't remove your head covering and stand on the ground if you're a superior officer. Now, I can understand that the person from the picture, a lot of stuff going on in the colonies at this time. I can understand the person in the picture maybe not wanting to acknowledge, but neither here nor there. I hope you enjoyed the video. Peace, Islam.